Did you know that over 450,000 cars with rolled back odometers, hidden flood damage, or major mechanical issues are sold to unsuspecting buyers every year? That means there's a huge chance that the great deal you just found is actually a ticking time bomb. That's why in this video, I'm breaking down the biggest red flags to watch out for when inspecting a used car so you don't end up with a total disaster on wheels. So if you want to make sure you don't get ripped off and drive away with a reliable ride, stick around because this checklist could save you thousands. Number 1. Inconsistent or missing service records. Before you even pop the hood or take a test drive, there's one thing that can tell you a lot about a used car, and that's the service history. But here's the problem. Many sellers either lose these records or simply don't have them, and that's a huge red flag. Think about it. Would you trust a car that has no proof of regular oil changes, timing belt replacements, or brake maintenance? Probably not. A car without consistent service records is a ticking time bomb because you have no idea if the previous owner neglected it. Here's how to check. Always ask for maintenance records. A well-maintained car should have receipts or a digital history from a dealership or repair shop. If the owner claims they did everything themselves but can't show proof, that's suspicious. Also, check the vehicle history report from Carfax or AutoCheck. Look for gaps if there's no service history for 50,000 miles. That's a bad sign. No records, no deal. Unless you're ready to gamble thousands on unknown it's best to walk away from cars with missing service. Number 2. Mismatched paint or panel gaps. At first, the car looks like great shiny paint, no major dents, and the seller swears it's never been in an accident. But here's the trick: you need to look closer, because mismatched paint and uneven panel gaps can expose a car's hidden past. Start by standing at different angles and checking how light reflects off the car. If one section looks slightly duller or wavy compared to the rest, it's likely been repainted. And here's the thing. Repainting alone isn't bad, but if it was done to cover up accident damage, that's where the problems start. Now, let's check the panel gaps. Run your fingers along the edges of the doors, hood, and trunk. Are the gaps even, or do they look wider on one side? If the panels don't line up properly, that's a strong sign the car has been in a crash and wasn't repaired correctly. And trust me, bad frame repairs can lead to structural issues that make the car unsafe. One sneaky trick: open the gas cap door. Many sellers forget to repaint inside, so if the color doesn't match the rest of the car, chances are that vehicle has had some major body work. Number 3. Hidden dashboard warning lights. Picture this. You get inside a used car, turn the key, and boom! No warning lights on the dashboard. Seems like a good sign, right? Well, not so fast, because some sellers are sneaky, and they'll actually disable warning lights to hide major issues. Here's what you need to do. Before starting the car, turn the key to the on position without cranking the engine. At this stage, all the dashboard warning lights check engine, airbag, ABS, oil pressure should illuminate for a few seconds. If they don't, that's a massive red flag. It could mean the seller tampered with the system to cover up a serious problem. And here's how you catch them. Bring a cheap OBD2 scanner, plug it into the car's diagnostic port, and check for hidden trouble codes. Even if the check engine light isn't on, the scanner can reveal if any codes were recently erased. If you see something like P0420 for a failing catalytic converter, the seller might have just cleared it right before you arrived. Also, pay special attention to the airbag light. Some states won't even let you register a car if the airbag system is faulty, and those repairs can cost thousands. If that light doesn't turn on and off properly, you might be sitting in a car with non-functional airbags, a major safety risk. Number 4. Milky or sludgy oil, head gasket failure. If you pop the hood and find this, you're looking at a potential head gasket failure. And trust me, that's an expensive nightmare waiting to happen. Here's how to check. First, pull out the engine oil dipstick. The oil should be clean and amber colored. If it looks milky, frothy, or like a chocolate milkshake, that means coolant is leaking into the oil. This is a major sign of a blown head gasket, cracked engine block, or even a failing oil cooler, all of which can cost anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 to fix. Next, take off the oil filler cap and peek inside. If you see a thick, sludgy residue, or a white, foamy substance, that's another bad sign. It means the engine has been running with coolant contamination, which can destroy internal components like bearings and piston rings. And here's a sneaky trick some sellers pull. They'll just change the oil right before selling the car to hide the problem. So don't just rely on the dipstick. Number 5. Transmission hesitation or rough shifting. If a car has transmission issues, it's pretty much a ticking time bomb. And trust me, a transmission repair isn't cheap. We're talking anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, sometimes even more. So here's what you need to do during the test drive. First, pay close attention to how the car shifts. When you accelerate, the gears should change smoothly. No jerking, no delays. If you feel a hard clunk, or the car hesitates before shifting, that's a major warning sign. Next, test the reverse gear. Put the car in reverse and see how long it takes to engage. If there's a delay, a jolt, or a slipping sensation, that could mean internal transmission damage. And don't forget to check the transmission fluid. Pull the dipstick while the car is running and look at the color. It should be a clear reddish pink. If it's dark brown or black, that means the fluid hasn't been changed in a long time, which could lead to overheating and eventual transmission failure. And here's a little trick if the seller says, oh, the car just shifts a little rough, but it's normal for this model. Don't fall for it. Number 6. Severe rust in critical areas. A little surface rust? No big deal. But if rust is eating away at the frame, suspension, or undercarriage, that car could turn into a death trap. Here's why rust is such a big deal. The car's frame and suspension components are what keep everything solid and stable. If those parts are rusted through, they can snap while you're driving. Imagine your suspension collapsing on the highway. Yeah, not something you want to risk. So, how do you check for rust? First, grab a flashlight and look under the car. Pay close attention to the frame rails, control arms, and wheel wells. These areas take the most damage over time. If you see flaky, brittle metal, or worse, actual holes in the frame, that's a hard pass. And here's a sneaky trick some sellers pull. They'll spray fresh undercoating or paint over rust to hide it. So don't just rely on your eyes. Run your fingers along the underside of the car. If you feel bubbling or rough patches, that's a sign the rust is still spreading underneath. Number 7. Flood damage or moldy smell inside the car. Flood-damaged vehicles often have electrical nightmares, hidden rust, and mold that can turn your ride into a health hazard. Here's the problem. Just because a car has a clean title doesn't mean it hasn't been through a flood. Some sellers will dry the car out, clean it up, and flip it to unsuspecting buyers. But the damage is still there. You just have to know where to look. First, use your nose. Take a deep breath inside the car. If you smell mildew, mold, or that weird damp basement smell, that's a major red flag. Even if the car looks spotless, trapped moisture under the carpet or seats can cause long-term damage. Next, pull up the floor mats and check for dampness or water stains. If the carpets feel even slightly wet, or if they look like they've been recently replaced, that's a bad sign. Now, check the seat belts. People often forget to clean these. Pull the belts out all the way and look for dirt lines or water stains. If they look like they've been soaked before, chances are the whole car has.